They told you to find yourself. In books, in podcasts, in spiritual retreats, the message is always the same. You're lost, and you need to be found. But what if the entire idea of finding yourself is not only misleading, but deeply destructive? For centuries, people have wandered through deserts, monasteries, and therapy sessions, hoping to stumble upon the one true version of who they are, as if the soul were a lost object, as if identity were a hidden treasure buried beneath the noise of modern life, just waiting to be discovered. But philosophers have been warning us, maybe there's nothing to find. Let's get one thing straight. The idea that there's a fixed, predetermined version of you, some authentic self waiting patiently for you to locate it, is a modern myth. It sounds beautiful, poetic even, but it's a trap. And the more you chase it, the more it slips through your fingers. Think about this. Have you ever truly felt that you found yourself? Maybe in a relationship, a job, a creative pursuit. For a moment, you feel whole. You feel like this is it. But then time passes. Circumstances shift. That version of you fades, and once again you're lost. So you start searching again. And again. The cycle never ends. Jean Paul Sartre, an existentialist philosopher, believed that here is no fixed human essence. You're not born with a self. Instead, you create yourself through your choices. Not once, but every single day. You are not something to be found. You are something to be made. This completely flips the narrative. Instead of trying to discover your purpose, your truth, your path, you take responsibility for shaping it. And that's terrifying. Because if there's nothing to find, then no one's coming to save you. No moment of epiphany will finally fix everything. There's only you and what you decide to become. But here's the problem. Our culture is obsessed with the idea of a singular, authentic self. Social media, personality tests, even spiritual movements push us toward the illusion of clarity. What's your type? What's your life path number? What's your true calling? All of these are just different ways of asking, who are you? But what if the real answer is this? You are flux. You are change. You are not a noun, but a verb in motion. And trying to freeze yourself into one fixed identity is like trying to catch the wind in your hands. Heraclitus, one of the earliest Greek philosophers, said it best. You cannot step into the same river twice. Why? Because the river is always changing, and so are you. The search for a static self is like chasing a ghost. By the time you think you've got it, it's already gone. So why do we do it? Why do we chase this myth of finding ourselves? Because uncertainty is uncomfortable. Because not knowing who we are makes us anxious. We want stability. We want to fit into a category. And more than anything, we want permission. We want someone or something to tell us, yes, this is who you are. This is what you should do. But true freedom comes from the opposite, from embracing uncertainty, from accepting that you are unfinished, from realizing that the real you is not hiding somewhere in a jungle or a journal, but is instead being built every time you make a hard decision, every time you change your mind. Every time you risk something, speak your truth, or walk away from something that once defined you. Here's a painful truth. Sometimes the quest to find yourself is just a sophisticated form of avoidance. You delay action, you wait, you stall. I need to figure myself out first. I'm still discovering who I am. I'm not ready yet, but life doesn't wait. And your identity won't download like an app. It emerges through doing, through becoming. Friedrich Nietzsche had no patience for the comfort of a static self. He believed that greatness came not from discovering who you are, but from overcoming who you were. He said, Man is something that shall be overcome. In other words, your task is not to find yourself. Your task is to transcend yourself. You are a process, a draft, a rough sketch. And the most dangerous lie you can believe is that one day you'll finally arrive. There is no arrival. There is only motion. We live in an age where self-discovery has become a product. Buy this course. Take this quiz. Read this book, all promising to bring you closer to your true self. But what if that self is not waiting to be found? What if it's waiting to be created through resistance, contradiction, and transformation? Think of yourself not as a statue hidden under stone, waiting to be revealed. Think of yourself as clay, soft, evolving, shaped by your own hands. When you stop searching and start sculpting, something profound happens. You stop obsessing over who you are, and you start focusing on who you could become. And that shift changes everything. Because the question is no longer, who am I? But rather, who am I willing to become today? That's not a search, that's a commitment. And yes, this path is harder. It doesn't come with tidy answers or three-step formulas. It requires courage. It requires faith, not in something external, but in yourself as a work in progress. It demands that you show up imperfectly and still try. But what's the alternative? Living a life spent chasing shadows, hoping one day to feel complete? No. Completion is a myth. Perfection is a trap. And the self is a garden, not a puzzle. You don't solve it, you tend to it, you grow it. And some parts will die, and some parts will bloom. But all of it is you. The greatest illusion modern culture sells is that you're supposed to arrive at yourself. As if one day you'll wake up, stare into the mirror and say, there I am. Finally. But real life doesn't work like that. Real life is messy, fragmented, ever-evolving. And so are you. Even Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, who gave us terms like the shadow and individuation, never said the self was something you merely find. No. For Jung, the self was something you integrate through a lifetime of inner work, confrontation, collapse, rebirth. To find yourself, in Jungian terms, isn't to uncover a hidden identity. It's to confront the parts of you you've rejected, feared, and buried, and to make peace with them. But here's the catch. Integration isn't glamorous. It's not Instagrammable. It's sitting in silence with your pain. It's admitting you were wrong. It's choosing growth over comfort. And it's walking away from the version of you that everyone else liked because you knew it wasn't real. That's the real work, not searching, but shedding, not finding, but forming. Philosopher Kierkegaard once said, "The most common form of despair is not being who you are. But maybe a deeper form of despair is believing you have to be someone at all times, clearly defined, wrapped in a neat identity, consistent and coherent. Because truthfully, no one is, not really. We are contradictions. We are mosaics of experiences, wounds, desires, and memories, often clashing, sometimes aligned. And the more you try to reduce yourself to a single definition, the more life will pull you apart to remind you. You are not one thing, you never were. So what should you do instead? Stop asking, who am I? And start asking, what am I becoming through this? When you suffer, when you break, when you rise, ask what version of you is being forged in the fire. That is where the truth lies, not in the mirror, but in the moment. The myth of finding yourself is seductive because it offers a finish line. But the beauty of becoming is that it never ends. It's a sacred chaos, an eternal unfolding, a dance between who you were and who you could be. Look back on your life. The best parts weren't planned. They weren't discovered in a moment of clarity. They were created through decision, through trial, via failure and risk. Every version of you was born through action, and none of those versions were final. So, why cling to the next one as if it will be? The world doesn't need more people who have found themselves. It needs people who are willing to lose themselves, again and again, in the pursuit of depth, honesty, and real inner evolution. It needs people who aren't afraid to say, I don't know who I am right now, but I'm here, and I'm listening. That's not weakness, that's power. And maybe that's what philosophers have been trying to say all along, not that you shouldn't search, but that your search must change direction. Stop looking for yourself like it's a lost item on a map. Start treating life itself as the canvas where the self is painted and repainted again and again. In Buddhist thought, the idea of a fixed self is considered an illusion. They call it anatta, not self. You are not a static identity. You are a process of becoming, moment to moment. When you stop clinging to the self, peace begins to enter. And suddenly, the need to be anyone dissolves, and you are free to simply be. But that kind of freedom is frightening, isn't it? Because if there is no true self to find, then what's left? Responsibility. Responsibility to choose. Responsibility to live with intention, not from a template. And responsibility to let go of versions of you that once felt safe, but no longer serve your becoming. So many people cling to broken identities because they fear the unknown. But staying in what's familiar is not the same as being true to yourself. Comfort is not authenticity, and certainty is not clarity. To truly grow, you must let the self die again and again, and trust that what rises in its place will be closer to the life you were meant to live. Not the self you find, but the self you build. When you stop chasing the myth, you gain something far greater. You gain the ability to reinvent, to respond to life, not with a script, but with presence, to say, I don't need to find myself to live fully. I just need to choose to live. And that choice, made daily, is what creates meaning. So if you feel lost right now, take a breath. Maybe you're not lost. Maybe you're just shedding. Maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're just in the process of becoming someone who didn't exist before. And that's not failure. That's evolution. Every identity you've ever had was a stepping stone, not a destination. And the real tragedy isn't not finding yourself. It's believing you have to stay the same once you do. Life doesn't want you to be consistent. It wants you to be true, true to what you feel, true to what you value, true to what this moment demands of you, even if it contradicts who you were yesterday. So stop searching, start creating, start becoming, start allowing yourself to be new every single day. And maybe, just maybe, that's what finding yourself was always meant to mean. What about you? Have you ever realized that you were chasing a version of yourself that no longer exists? Let me know in the comments. Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this message made you pause, reflect, or feel seen, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because here, we don't chase myths. We walk through the unknown together.